Isles of Yore is a newly released dinosaur game that came out a week ago since I recorded this video, but when it comes up, it'll be 2 weeks ago. This game was a hotly anticipated game with a nice small community. However, today I'm going to be reviewing the game in its entirety, like I've done before with Path of Titans and Draconia. I'll be comparing it with these categories on whether you should buy it now, consider it, wishlist it, whether I don't recommend it, or you should not buy it at all. Timestamps are now on the screen, so feel free to check out the parts you want to check out, and if you are new, feel free to subscribe and let me know what game you want me to review next. Anyways, let's get right into it. So the first part in the review, we talk about the accessibility of the game. Like all reviews that I've done so far, accessibility has 3 sections, each ranking on a score out of 30 overall, as each of them has a score of 10, and it adds together for a total category score. So firstly, we have the price of the game. The Isles of Yore costs around £15.49. I'll put the conversions on the screen for you into USD and Euros. The price is a good price for a dinosaur game, however, you have to bear in mind that the price is directly putting it in competition with Beasts of Bermuda and the Isle, 2 very, very big dinosaur games, 2 of the top 3 in the game genre, and it's quite a tough market at this price. The price to me is an issue, although it does fit for the price. I feel like the price should be lower. I feel like the price should be £10, because then it's not competing directly with the Isle and Beasts of Bermuda, 2 games that will directly outcompete it and drag its audience away from it. So to me, although it's not a big price, I feel like the price is the main sticking point on whether people would consider it. There are bigger games that are probably better for your money at the moment. So at the moment, for price, it would have got a 7 out of 10, but I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. The Isles of Yore is only on one platform. This is PC and it's on Steam. You can get it now on Steam for £15.49. However, since it's only on one platform, it gets a 3 out of 10. For the requirements of this game, the requirements are quite decent. On Steam it says you need a quad-core 3.8 GHz processor, 8 GB of RAM, an Nvidia GeForce 1060 or equivalent, version 11 for DirectX, and 5 GB of RAM for storage space for the game. Now this is the minimum specifications, which is decent. However, there are games with better specifications or better minimum specs for it, which is interesting. The game's specs are on par with Path of Titans and the Isle. However, I do slightly notice some graphical issues and slight lag when I was streaming the game, which obviously is a pain. However, when I'm playing it solo, not streaming, it's not that bad. As for that, it gets a 6 out of 10. If you have a lower end device, you probably won't be able to play this game, so do bear that in mind. Overall, for accessibility, this game will be getting a 15 out of 30, which is sitting nicely in the middle, and it's sitting nicely between Path of Titans and Draconia for its score, which is overall a nice score. Let's get into the next section, which is gameplay. Of course, gameplay is the biggest section here, and to me, it's obviously going to be the one that everybody is going to be looking out for this review. So I'm going to get into it, and we're going to start with combat. Combat, to me, this game's combat is very much like pretty much every single dinosaur game at the moment. You basically run and bite and run and bite, and maybe a claw attack every now and then, but that's pretty much it. If you are being chased, you're running away. If you're attacking, you're running at them and biting, or running circles and biting. There isn't really too much skill involved. As long as you know how to move a dinosaur and bite, then you should be set. That being said, the AI is quite hard, especially if you're a baby. Combat is probably not going to be the best thing for you. Combat wise, there is nothing that makes it stick out with its competitors, because in my eyes, with the game's combat, there isn't actually too much to it. You don't have any unique abilities, you don't have any unique features that set the combat apart from other dinosaur games. So to me, as for all of the dinosaur game reviews, all of them that I'd reviewed had features, but they weren't properly complete or fleshed out, but those features were there. This game doesn't really have them features just yet, so for that, for combat, it gets a 5 out of 10. Single player in this game is actually fairly decent, and I actually rate it. You can't play single player on the game, however, so do bear that in mind. You cannot play the Isles of Yore in single player. You're locked to servers. That being said, the single player experience on a multiplayer server is actually quite nice. However, you do need internet to play this game, so if this is a game you wanted to play in single player, do not get it. However, if you're playing with no friends on a server with no players, that technically will count. The single player world, or the single player experience, from my experience when I played this game before it was released and no one was playing it, was actually fairly good. You know, the AI was filling the world. You had pterosaurs, you had spinosaurs and Asuko in the swamp, you had Brachii and Rex and Triceratops in other areas of the map, you had Coelophysis packs which were AI. It fleshes out the world nicer, you don't feel alone, the music that pops up in between, the ambience, just makes this world feel complete, and there's still quite a bit to do while you're playing this game on your own. The only downside here, and the reason why it's not going to get any higher than a 7 out of 10, is because you can't play this game offline. You cannot play it in proper single player. The single player experience is good, but it's not a true single player experience, so it gets a 7 out of 10. Multiplayer for this game is actually not that different to single player. The only difference is that you're playing on a server that has people on it. That being said, the servers aren't bustling with players, and I'll talk about that in the players section. I feel like for the price range, it's not a popular game, but that's because it's also a very new game and it's competing with two very popular games as well. The player count is low on a large map, so you are not really going to be meeting other players that often unless you pack with them and then meet up with them. That is the only time I've ever been able to meet a player in the game. That being said, multiplayer isn't that different than single player from my experience. There isn't really anything to set it apart at the moment, so far it gets a 5 out of 10. For mechanics, there is only a handful of mechanics in the game. So far you've got the hunting mechanics, you've got customization, you've got really nice AI, you've got some kind of growth and some kind of nesting system, which is okay. That being said, there isn't many combat mechanics, there isn't many extra survival features and stuff like that. To me, I feel like it needs more fleshing out on its current mechanics and then more fleshing out on new mechanics that will make it stand apart from the other dinosaur games that are out now and have these mechanics already. So the mechanics themselves are good, but the lack of any other mechanics isn't a good look, so it gets a 3 out of 10 here. For the replayability, you've got two playable creatures, a large map, an expansive AI on the map, and a small number of mechanics. The map is the big part in the replayability. For the time that I've played the game, there's actually quite a bit to explore. I played the game for a while and I've only touched the surface with the game, attacking AI, growing a dinosaur, growing 2 dinosaurs, and then exploring the map. And yet there's still a whole bunch of map to explore, so do bear that in mind. My main concern here is dinosaur games. People play them for the dinosaurs, and replayability will be focused around the amount of dinosaurs that you can play over time and the amount of exploration you can do with those dinosaurs. To me, it gets boring after the 10th gameplay session. Even if you haven't explored the map fully, you still can't really explore the map and get to grips with everything with only 2 different dinosaurs that provide a slightly different gameplay perspective to each other. And so I still think it's fairly bare boned. The dinosaurs are nice, however it does have huge potential here to be more replayable. At the moment it'll get a 5 out of 10. And this ties into characters. There are only 2 characters in the game at the moment, and that's pretty much all you need to know for the characters section. You have Coelophysis and Deinonychus. Coelophysis model is great, its customization is great, it's the most fleshed out here with the most gameplay and mechanics, which is good. Deinonychus has the customization, it's still being worked on, its model looks a little bit derpy, but I find it pretty neat overall. However, the fact there is only 2 playable characters in this game so far is just sad. I really wish there was more, and there will be more coming in the future. So as the game develops and I come back to this in a final review when it's closer to being fully complete, it will spark more points here. However, at the moment it gets a 2 out of 10 for characters. However, a section for it to redeem some points. Customization. This game, I will quite happily say, surprised me with its customization. To me, it's got a variety of customization. Its customization to me is kind of like a mix of Path of Titans and draconias. And I like that a lot. So you've got different patterns. You've got quite a few patterns. You have a furry skin for the Coelophysis as well, which is always nice. But you have different patterns. It has 5 different patterns on the dinosaur. Then it has an extensive range of colours that you can put on the dinosaur as well. These colours actually look realistic. They're not extremely bright and colourful like in Beasts of Bermuda, but they're still colourful enough and not washed out, so they fit nicely. And then you can change the markings of the dinosaurs and individual colours for those markings as well, so you can actually customize the colours of this dinosaur pretty nicely. Customization for me is probably one of the strong points of this game so far. I hope they carry this forward on other dinosaurs and playables that come to the game in the future. For now it gets a 7 out of 10 however. So for gameplay, this overall ranks it as a 34 out of 70. Yes, there is still a lot of points to be had here. However, for a base game that's a pre-alpha or an alpha early access title, it's actually really nice to have this score. I think it's pretty nice. There is room for improvement, but do bear in mind this is an early access game. Due to the nature of this game being so early in development, it will score lower points in the development section, so do bear that in mind. Firstly, development status basically talks about if the game's complete, if it's in early access, if it's an alpha, if it's a demo. If a game is complete but it doesn't have a lot of content, it will obviously rank lower, but I'll talk about that if that were the case. That being said, this game is an early access game. It's not complete, it's not a full game, it's still very early in its development cycle. It's been developed for a 1.5 years now, I believe. And so in my eyes, because it is an early access game, it will gain so much more points as it grows over time. When I come back to review it when it's complete, it will get more points here, but so far it's a 3 out of 10. Frequency of updates is actually something that is surprising me. We haven't had enough time for this game to get big updates out. However, we've had enough time to see how proactive the developer of the game is with releasing new content. Now, the reason why I'm saying this is because when the game was released, the developer had released a lot of bug fixes in the weeks after that. So the first week there was a couple bug fixes, a lot of new servers were brought up to be able to up the capacity for the game for the players and enjoy a smoother gameplay experience. If the developer holds this out with more content, keeps the bug fixes coming, slowly adding new content, new dinosaurs and the likes of that, I feel like it will do really well. And I feel like the frequency of updates at the moment is a 6 out of 10, which actually gets a 9 out of 20 for the overall development section, which is close to halfway. That's 40%, 45%, which is actually a fairly decent score for a very early access game and a game that was released a week ago. With the community section, I look at the developers' involvement with the community and the community overall, as well as the player count. So for players, this mainly looks at the player count. The community is small, but it's a very tightly knit community. It's not a dead game like some of the other dinosaur games that are out now. On launch, there was a fair few players as well, which is really nice and surprising to me that it already had a fairly strong and dedicated community with it. However, the server counts are still low, especially for a big map, so it makes it hard to find new players. Usually there's around 15 players on a server, and that's because servers don't have the capacity at the moment to have more players on them. The AI is the saving grace for the multiplayer. It does make the world seem more alive. However, the multiplayer's reason for being lower is actually because of AI, so they had to reduce the AI amounts. However, I do feel like this will grow over time. I feel like the game has potential to get more players. For now, it gets a 4 out of 10. The community, on the other hand, and the community's involvement in this game is actually really neat. The community, I would say, is a really nice and tightly knit community. They seem really nice and friendly, always asking questions about the game, which the lead developer always answers, and that's a really good thing. The lead developer actually then, or the only developer, released a suggestion board for people to suggest new things. He's also releasing new bugs, and it's getting being really proactive with the game, joining servers, asking how people are, asking if there's anything that may need improving, asking for bug fixes, and everything like that. So he's actually really proactive here, very involved with the community, and the community is very involved with him as well, which is very good. I like that developer community relationship that is built up here, and it gets an 8 out of 10. For this section, it's a 12 out of 20 due to that, and it's really nice. I feel like if there was more players, it will definitely get more points, but it's more than 50% here. I'm believing 60% for this section, which is really nice. I really like it, and it has potential to grow over time, and I feel like the community is helping that too. The final category here is map and graphics. How conveniently named. It's only two things, just them two. So let's just get right into it. The map is big. It's a very nice map. It looks great. However, in some areas it feels empty. In the redwood forest, although the redwood is absolutely beautiful, I kind of felt like it felt a bit flat to an extent. There wasn't that much terrain variation in the redwoods, and I couldn't really find any AI in the redwood. Sometimes you are walking around areas of the map and you find it hard to find people. This is the problem that Path of Titans has, and I feel like it is obviously going to be a little bit of an issue when the game grows. That being said, the weather events on this map are insane. They're really cool, and I love them a lot. There are a wide range of biomes. There's a swamp, a redwoods, snow biomes, the big mountain, forest, lagoons, cliffs, and all that. It's a really nice map, and it's really nicely put together. I feel like it just needs some extra things to get it more marks, but I do feel it's just in some areas a little bit lonely, so it gets a 6 out of 10 there. The graphics for this game I feel like are in a similar field to Draconia. It's very the Isle Legacy reminiscent, and that technically to me is a bad thing because it doesn't get it higher marks, because we're in an age now where games should be getting better and better with graphics instead of graphics from a game that's fairly old now. That being said, the dinosaur models here hold their value. Of course, some of them are store-bought dinosaur models, do bear that in mind, but they all fit nicely with the map, they all fit together, they fit together with the graphics. There's actually no collision with the art style and the graphics like some other dinosaur games would have, which I think is really nice, and to me, that gets it marks. However, it does lack in some areas because I feel like it could use better shading. For me, when the grass, while you were running through the grass, it kind of had some issues where it kind of felt very pixely, and with some render issues as well, kind of made the stuff flying in the sky very pixely as well, which to me wasn't the best thing. And for that, it does let it down, and it will be getting a 6 out of 10, which yet again, this section will be getting a 12 out of 20. A nice respective score at that. However, now we've got all the scores together, let's get the final score on the door. So, Isles of Yore, the review, it's now coming to an end, and what do I think about it? What do the scores evaluate to or equate to? Well, let's talk about the categories of first. There are a variety of categories here. Do I recommend that you not buy this game? Not recommend this game? Wishlist the game for the future? Consider buying the game, or straight up buy it now? Well, overall, the Isles of Yore got 82 out of a possible 160 marks, which puts it in the category of wishlist. To put this into perspective, Draconia got just below 100 and Path of Titans got 107, so it's in the same category as Draconia at the moment, and I feel like this is just because it's an early access title and it still has a long way to go for it to become more of a game. I think the game has potential. In its current state, in my eyes, it should be a lower price, because if it's putting itself directly in competition with the Isle and Beasts of Bermuda, it's not gonna grow as well as it should. It's outshone itself, it's outshadows itself by those games. Those games are shadowing it, and not many people are going to consider buying a game with a lower population, less dinosaurs, less graphics than a game that is the same price with insane graphic, lots of dinosaurs, lots of customization, a bigger dev team, and a bigger community. That's why I feel like it should be a lower price. However, I also feel like it's still finding its footing. I feel like the Isles of Yore, or Isles of Yore, is still finding its footing, and it's still finding something, its character. That's what I think it's trying to find still, and I feel like it's still got a long way for it to find it. And until it finds that character, until it finds a way to stand out from other dinosaur games, all I can say to you is wishlist it. Join their Discord server. Feel free to look around the community, but probably wait until more content comes. That's probably what I'm saying here. That's my outcome. 82 out of 160 is higher than 50%, so it's a nice score overall. I feel like for a single developer, a small dev team at that, I think they've done very well. He's had limited help here and there, store-bought dinosaur assets for the AI, and some other stuff and other developer help. I feel like he's come a long way. I feel like it could go even further in the future. So that being said, that is the Isles of Yore, and let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Yeah, that's everything. Let me know what you think about this game. Do you agree with this review? Do you think you should go ahead and buy it now, or do you think you shouldn't buy it at all? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you would rank this game as well, and let me know if you are enjoying this game, if you have it so far. I'd love to know. Other than that, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.